Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another 21st Century Renaissance and another open interest newsletter breakdown on GameStop. I'm your host, Dr. Michael LoPiano, and today we're back on the road, coming at you aus der Schweiz. Hello, everyone from Zurich, Switzerland. We have quite the day coming up here. Certainly looking very exciting with everything that is going on the Bitcoin end of things. We were talking about toward the beginning and middle of last week, especially in anticipation of some of this news regarding tariffs. Didn't quite get that sell-off yet in the broader market like we were thinking about, but we're going to take a look at that today and reflect on what that might mean for GameStop going forward into this July OPEX week. So that's coming up today. Before we get started, we are going to turn our attention over to our gratitude, as we often do. Today's gratitude once again goes out to Gamma Chad, who's been with us for a long time. Thanks go out to him for sponsoring today's video and newsletter breakdown, as well as to our monthly supporters, Not Medical Advice, Master Kurt, Lesko, Cosmotropic, Swag52, and Hey Luckies, aka Faithless Looter, for sponsoring and showing some support on a regular basis. My thanks go out, of course, to everyone who has supported in one way or another, even if that is just by leaving comments, questions, participating in our weekly live streams. I do apologize once again for technical difficulties with my platform StreamYard. They were going through some issues last week with respect to integration with, recent browser updates, so Firefox and Google Chrome updates, while they're updating their platform themselves. So that created some compatibility issues with my virtual camera software. But we should be back to our regularly scheduled program this week with a little July OPEX action there, a little stream action for July OPEX. Obviously, top theme for today, what has folks excited is certainly that Bitcoin move up over 120,000. That was right. So we got this nice daily PMO cross of our 55 and our 20 there. That should continue for a bit. I mean, maybe we get a little bit of chop in this kind of 120 to 125 area, but should have some room to run. And this may even look something like either of these two larger Bitcoin runs we saw earlier, right? I mean, this sort of flies in the face of all of those accounts that somehow after the Bitcoin buy back when they found out that instead of buying it, say 75,000, Ryan Cohen potentially bought it 95 or 100,000 or something like that, saying like, that's it. He botched the buy. I'm out, right? Of course, that $500 million investment into Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset has now appreciated just by this move over the last 50 days, probably by around 25% for GameStop. So that's looking at unrealized. I mean, that's it, right? That's something like an appreciation of around 25 million, maybe something like that. Does that sound right? Let's see, it would be. No, it'd be much closer to 15 million, something like that. Still, I mean, that's not that much, but this will likely have some effect on the price action this week, possibly adding a little bit of cushion to the downside, a little bit harder to push it below that 23 mark, which we'll take a look at a sec as we take a look at our gamma exposure. We did, as I said in my write-up on Friday, right, it looks like we did have some of those gamma dynamics maybe connected to what was going on with Bitcoin. Right, GameStop wasn't really showing too much responsiveness over the course of the week after, kind of moving into the 110, certainly over 110 up to 115, not really seeing that much there throughout the week. And then, of course, we opened very excellently. Still a very range-bound move with respect to our gamma structure. So, of course, pointed out on Friday that $24 was likely the upper extent based on call positioning there, that we were going to run into a lot of resistance. And sure enough, then, of course, institutions and options traders would then use that as a pivot point to move us back down to the downside, which they did in notable amounts. So we will go ahead and take a look at that in a second as we check out our open interest data. At the same time, though, something to call out here, SPY increasingly looking a little questionable. We've been talking about this as moving into something of an overextended pattern for about the past 2 weeks, especially last week, but about the past 2 weeks. One thing that we've observed, of course, over this period is an increasing softening of support underneath us. That is an increased amount of put positioning, especially below the 620 mark. As we look at our gamma landscape, of course, for SPY going into today, we can see that really now everything below 625 has now taken a put dominant character. This includes the 620 mark. So the 620 mark is not a major point of support now. And as you can see, as we go down, volatility will start to ramp up as we trace into this 618 to 615 area if we start to move down noticeably. Now, immediately below us, kind of we've already started to slide through this area. 620, 621 do feature a bit of accumulated put gamma there. Does seem like volatility will start to creep in, although as far as something super dynamic, right, not necessarily calling for something like March or April in terms of our downturn there, but something like a retrace down into the 610, 605 area. I mean, right, the momentum to the downside, as we can see here, kind of runs out around 605. There'd probably be some sort of I think I mentioned this in the article, termed it a gut check, right? So we'll kind of realize this gamma. It does look like we're going to kind of gamma ramp to the downside, basically into that 610 position. And then maybe once we kind of run out of steam in around 608, 609, we kind of retrace back up into the 615, 610 bracket for a bit as the options market goes ahead and decides whether it wants to go ahead and prepare for risk on. As we take a look going forward, as well as our positioning out through several expiries, we can see August looking very bearish in terms of preparation there for downside volatility to realize. It is now our largest expiry in terms of normalized put gamma. Today is our next largest one, so we have a lot of 0 DTE puts that are on the board for today, kind of been walked forward a little bit at a time. And then going into OPEX, right, so July OPEX continues to soften up here. So it is very close to essentially being neutral, right? We went from that being very, very strongly call skewed to now basically neutral, right? That call skew is all but vanished. So it really does look like in the broader market that we have some chop on the horizon, that kind of bullish move has more or less worn out its momentum, and that we are likely on our way towards a multi-week correction here, possibly even multi-month into August OPEX, but maybe a little bit before that. We'll see what the actual imposition of tariffs, that August 1 deadline, actually does to the broader market. So at the same time, then, if we take a look at our options data, we can see that despite the fact that volatility was so low, we did get a little bit of a kick up early going into Friday's trading on that $24 move. But by and large, traders are short volatility. They are short on the put side. They are largely short volatility on the call side. We can tell this as trades are taken at the bid. These are short volatility trades. This indicates that by and large, traders coming out of Friday's trading day into July OPEX are more or less prepared for volatility to be low, right? For us to have minimal volatility, not too much upside, right? Of course, GameStop's return in volatility, unlike SPY, corresponds with price moves to the upside, appreciation in the underlying. So we are likely looking at something not, again, all too different from what we've seen for the past couple weeks. Now, that might see us return back up into that 2 weeks ago range, so something like into the $24 to $25 bracket here. So this tight bracket that's remained in place. We have our Colgex wall is at $25. Very, very unlikely, I think, going into the end of this week, going into July OPEX, to see an OPEX close over $25 given the amount of positioning, the amount of options positioning there. A move over midweek, a move over that $24 position, I think, is possible. Again, I would say most likely is a close as close to, if not lower than that. We have our max pain strike for the week. It has gone up despite all these calls sold at the bid to 23.50, up from 23 last week. But with that said, I could see a little bit of bullishness early part of the week, midweek, maybe some chop, maybe some trading in that 24 to 25 range. However, toward the end of the week, unless we get some really significant let's say options repositioning or some sort of external news comes on. I don't know, maybe there's going to be some bullishness with the stapler, right? Which is now up to $250,000, very interestingly. So it's double Bitcoin. How about that? Largely looking at, OPEXs tend not to be whelming, right? Not overwhelming moves there. Yeah, and this is a low season, right? A down cycle anyway. So staying conservative, obviously, relatively mildly bullish going into the middle of the week. Certainly like how GameStop has been behaving pre-market with respect to what's going on in Bitcoin here. But with that said, definitely staying realistic with respect to my expectations. And yeah, planning my trades accordingly. So yeah, we'll be on the road all week. Once again, it is the summer of travel. So yeah, look forward to monitoring this all week with you guys, taking a look at how, yeah, very excited Wednesday for the stapler auction to end. That's going to be an exciting time. So, yeah, so thanks very much, everyone, as always, for your attention, for watching and listening. We'll look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for another Open Interest newsletter breakdown, as well as a return to our regular scheduled programming with our live stream this Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time at market close. So thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Good luck with your trades and good luck with your investment. Let's go GameStop.